astounded folks in the audience. Welcome to the June 3rd Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary Advisory Committee meeting. And I would like to begin as we customarily do. Barbara, if you would lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The minutes from May 6th was posted on the internet for our review. Is there any recommendation for changes or amendments to the May minutes? Okay. Hearing none.
Move that be approved.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll have those for record. Audience participation, again, those watching, please take this invitation to come. You're most welcome. And we always encourage participation by the citizens. It's critical. New business. Recap of Memorial Day ceremonies. John, would you kind of
Yes, sir.
talk to that, please?
I have a few extra programs in case anyone on our committee doesn't have one for their file or that would want some. I think we had a great turnout, maybe one of our best turnouts, or near it anyway. And there was all the appropriate sights and sounds and symbols that we like to see there. Memorial Day, of course, is a solemn ceremony, but it is nice to see our high school band there and the community come out. And the weather didn't look too good when we started, but turned out to be okay. I think Sam Coons, being the chair of the committee or the master of ceremonies, did a great job putting it all together. And, of course, Colonel Young as the parade marshal and Captain Demzik as the parade adjutant. And I think all of that worked out great. There was a little change, as for those of you that didn't attend, where we moved the high school band or swapped the high school band and the Veterans Color Guards. So the pass and review was a little different than we had in the past, but it worked out great. Our keynote speaker was, I think, you could tell by the audience that he was on target. It was Lieutenant General Thomas McInerney, and he seemed to be a great person, and of course, leader in our veterans community. I can't think of anything that didn't go right. I mean, there's always a little tiny something here and there, but all in all, it went. I think as good as we've ever had. We acknowledged on the back of the program many of the people that help us put it on. It's hard to put everybody in the program, or it'll be 5 or 10 pages. We probably missed the Victory Center store. Probably should be one of those acknowledged on the back, even though it's not a voting organization that we had in the member organizations. But a young man that I've known since he was like 5 years old is one of my karate students, is a second-degree black belt now, Corporal Heath Harris. As I tell the guys, whoever's moving the wreath, you're going to wind up in the newspaper for sure, and probably on the cover. And sure enough, he was on the cover of Hometown News and some other ones, and I thought he did an excellent job. And that's one of the most moving parts of the ceremony, as the community is silent, and really he's the only one moving. And well, this time Michael Hyde with the bagpipes moved with them as they did slowly down the center of all of the mass of people that we had there down to place the marker at the cenotaph. And so that's all I can think of for right now. I'm sure we all had a different thing that we noticed. But
speaking of mass of people, I was interested to read in the morning paper, in News Weekly or one of them, that the crowd of 500, I think they left off the 1,000.
Yeah, I believe so.
We printed 1,500 programs this time, and I don't think they almost all went, and a lot of them were one per couple rather than one per person. So it could have been I think 2,000 even. Some guessed.
Probably somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000.
That was, to
Yeah.
me, I think that was the largest crowd we've ever had.
Yeah. Is there a limit? Do we? It's not like the fire marshal would give us a limit. So we'll keep as long as they're not standing in the water. You say, yeah.
Well, I just want to tell you, sir, for your city staff, they did phenomenally. An indication. I mean, Rob, the PA system, Bob,
Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
came out on his own time to meet with the fella that was the vocalist from the sheriff's department. Who sang?
The police department.
Police
Terrence Nelson.
ahead of time because he wanted to make sure that his keyboard, the sound was totally in sync. And the only way I get feedback is just by hearsay. And I had folks come up to me and said that they could stand across the bridge and clearly hear everything that was going on that day. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's impressive. Mm-hmm. And the attention to detail for the appearance of the island was great. It went extremely well. The sheriff's department came and set up a battle cross. We call it a soldier's cross. The Marines call it what do you call it?
Battle cross.
A battle cross, the weapon that's inverted and put in the ground with the sandbags with a bayonet and the helmet and dog tags. And then just the comments from everyone. You could look out and you could see a cross section of Vero Beach with the Fife and Drum Corps there. The Sea Scouts were there as well as the high school band, and Jim Sammons was there along with Paige Howell. I'm just proud to be a citizen of this city.
And all those wonderful band students, it was a holiday for them.
Yes.
But they were there. They always are there for us.
That's right.
For the veterans.
So
you had mentioned Sergeant Terrence Nelson earlier, the vocalist, and when I called to invite him, I said, we're all volunteers, so I'm not sure how it would affect your pay, and he said, I don't need pay or I don't need overtime, but I need permission if I'm going to be in uniform. So I called Chief Curry, and he said, and I said, I don't know about the color guard. I know it's difficult with salaries and stuff these days. And he said, no, that Sergeant Nelson could be there in uniform and the color guard would be there. And, of course, the chief was also there himself. So it's really, I think that's one of the nice things about these is the whole community is there from children to some of the oldest veterans we have.
And the fact that the elected officials were so generous and ceding the honors to the veterans that came up on the stage, the Air Force and Navy, Marine. One of the fellows was a member of a gun crew that safeguarded ships going across the Pacific a number of times, and that struck home to me because we've spoken about other veterans on Memorial Island who had done the same thing, traversing the ocean to supply, logistics for the fight. So
Seaman Crum, the Navy Armed Guards.
That's right. Uh-huh. That's right. Exactly. So we'll just have to continue that standard. And thank you for the staff. I appreciate it.
I have one question for Rob. Rob, is there a chance? Do we have access to orange cones? This is for something because we were talking, without getting too far in depth right now, in order to set up a cart path, because that way, if we had cones on each side, then we could have the carts coming through, because they were telling me that the carts were getting backed up and some of the older fellas couldn't get back in there on time. And if we maybe were to set up a couple cones, like one on each side, and have the carts go through the middle or something to that effect. Something we could talk about later, obviously. Okay, very good.
Okay. And one last thing, Holt was there to record and to have the story of some of those veterans. He had the chance. He was there early and was able to videotape some of that. So fantastic. Okay. Moving on to a recommendation. In 2012, we had a recommendation of about a dozen names that have been replaced on the island updates, and those are all taken care of. At the time, we deferred going forward for Jimmy Doles, but since then, I think the research has substantiated that the cenotaph is spelled DOES, and we have scrubbed the research that we could find and located nobody by the name of DOES, but there is a DOLES. And as you look at it, there was an article specifically in 1976 in the Press Journal that highlighted him with a photograph of him in his service. So there's a great, much more confidence that, in fact, that should be DOLES. And I think there's a lot of justification to make that correction. So last month he was highlighted in April. He served in Australia and New Guinea, and he's buried at the Winter Beach Cemetery. So any questions regarding that?
No, well, it certainly should be changed now that you have verified the fact that it was in error.
Yeah.
So
Should we have a motion in that regard?
I would certainly move we.
So
I'll
moved.
second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. And I believe the money's available in our funds to cover the cost associated with that. It's, I said not more than $250. I think it's probably more like $150.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Okay. The next order of business, the directory. As I came on the island, with the changes of the Veterans Council address and location and phone number, the directory needs to be updated with the current information for the Veterans Council. So that was an observation. Don, if it's a cost nature or whatever, let me know that if you want the Veterans Council to justify the update for that with it covering the expense.
What exactly are you
In the directory,
Yeah, where is
when you
that?
come onto the island, on the left-hand side,
The map, like
on the map, it has, if you want to have honors contact the Recreation Department, has that information. If it talks about the ceremonies and such, it talks about the Veterans Council of Indian River and lists address and phone number. So that really is out of date and it should be updated. So, okay. Very good. Old business. Updates to the rules and regulations for plaques and memorials. I asked everybody to have a copy of the proposed revision, and I think it's in front. Did you get one, John? Okay. It lists pages 1 through 5, and that's because last page is blank, so it's actually 4 pages. But a little background to that. After last month, in the dialogue with the committee, it was felt that we needed to look at the total rules and regulations for that. So taking the rules and regulation portion that we have and looking at that, which was Resolution 2010-11 that we all have, and then taking the city code, which is 54-31E, and then also taking a copy of the plan, proposed plan for Veterans Park, which was available from the grounds. If you look at the changes, and I'll go through there, all of this is an effort to make it more, what do you want to call it?
Timeline.
Take into account the changes over the years and then make it flow as a train of thought from the beginning to the end, so that as you look at it, you address each part. And so what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you all, is just go through it very quickly, or go through it and so that you have a chance to see what's there. Okay. The proposed revision, the intent of it is as listed previously, twofold: to create a haven for reflection, and then also to serve as a memorial to the Indian River County military heroes. Okay, that's a direct excerpt. Next, we define the area that the rules should apply within, and that was an update because initially it was just the island, and then it expanded to the circle to the east of it. So that's defined there. And then the third paragraph there was an addition. The sanctuary is protected by the city charter, and so that was incorporated there. Next, the role of our committee is specified within the rules and uses. And then next, to look at the actual rules and policies. And initially, we had the manner in which the memorials were addressed and then the uses, but the flow was changed so that first we talk about how we use the island and then talk about the specifics for the memorials. And then if you look under the uses of the sanctuary are consistent with where we've been. Again, reiterating that the intent was for quiet contemplation. All the uses should be kept in that intent. Secondly, we specify from the code that any other uses would be directed by the city manager by permit only in accordance with the city code. Straight and forward. Okay, no deviation. The private memorial services, that paragraph is modified just to specify that the DD 214 is the discharge of active duty or certificate of release or discharge from active duty, a specific title.
Can I ask a question on that one?
Yeah.
You say that the certificate of discharge from active duty or equivalent. What happens if someone comes up and wants to have that has a bad papers, that has a bad conduct discharge?
That wasn't addressed.
That was not.
In the past, it seems like they had to be an honorably discharged
Yes.
veteran. We wouldn't.
That was an understanding, but this is how it was written. And if we would like to, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
honorably discharged. Yeah, we wouldn't want to have a traitor or somebody who.
I think
anything
that's-
other than dishonorable.
Okay, so let's.
But these aren't. We're not voting on this today. These
No,
are
I mean,
suggestions.
No, it's just what we're going
but I mean,
with.
I think I would like to incorporate that comment because I think that's what we're here for. Okay, so John or Joel. The private memorial services held on the island shall be limited to service for U.S. veterans for whom a DD 214 or equivalent has been provided. Okay, to the city of Vero Beach.
You could insert there what would be
Under honorable conditions.
under anything other than
Dishonorable.
dishonorable.
Under
In other words, if general
Any-
under honorable conditions
under
is fine,
anything
or
other than
administrative discharge or
dishonorable.
whatever. I think other than dishonorable, yeah.
Honorable conditions. Okay. Very good. Then, there should be. Go ahead.
Well, let's see. Back to the beginning.
Yeah.
It's, to just honor our military heroes. It has been in the past also. I don't know if it specifically stated or just, but to honor those that died in the service of our country. We have many thousands, millions of heroes, but the island was originally intended to honor those that died in the service of our country, and the ordinance only allows those that died in combat to be honored. So, shouldn't we? Is all the county's military heroes is a little bit broad too, isn't it?
This is the well. I think this is what was written and stands. When I looked at that, I thought that the guidelines for recognition of memorials was
I think it's
such that it defined it for those that had died, and I looked at this as addressing the fact that it is a meeting place for memorial services. That's how I mean, that's what I thought. That's where I was thinking of for that portion of that.
Okay. One we might need to discuss, I guess, more. Just pardon me.
Yeah, okay.
We're back to where are we on?
Yeah, we were just talking on the
Number 3 there.
number 5, 3. Okay. The next. There should be no charge for admission to the sanctuary. That was a part of the recommendations that was made by Helen Glenn.
That's a long time ago.
Right. And so in speaking to Peggy Lyons, basically that was a recommendation. So as you're revising this, it's no longer a recommendation. It's what we state. Okay, so that's there.
Should that then say there will be no charge, not there should be no charge? I mean, I know you're splitting a hair there, but if you're not going to charge something, you're going to say that you cannot do it. That should say there will be no charge, or there cannot be. I mean, I'm not.
The legalese part of it. She placed should. I mean that.
Okay. I just
based upon her input, I that's the word that I selected there.
I think even though she's making suggestions, but I agree that she's not decreeing it. She made a suggestion, and I agree with Joel that there will be no is better than there should be no.
I think shall is the legal term they use.
Sounds good.
Okay, shall.
Shall instead of should.
Very good. Shall. Very good. Okay. Moving on to the following. Now, how did I do that? I'm sorry.
You're under 5.
Okay, under 5.
Yeah.
Again, the following shall not be permitted. Okay, shall not be. I did not update that, and I should have. So 5. The following shall not be permitted on the island for 5. Okay. And then beginning with general recreational activities and running down the list there: weddings, demonstrations, gatherings, fundraising, sports events, camping. Those were all incorporated earlier and retained. Okay.
I took a friend of mine that I was in Vietnam with the other day, and it's amazing how many it is. Kind of, if you're riding a bike, it's sort of just kind of draws you in, even though they're not supposed to be there. And people with their dogs, you see them often, and they don't intend to do anything bad, but they just wander over there with the animals often, don't they? But
As long as they have that little plastic baggie with them.
yeah,
I often will see folks, and if you go up to them and speak with them about the intent of the island and how it is ours, Arlington, they get it.
not a park.
Like, oh, okay, I really should not be doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
I've had that experience. They apologized and said they didn't really think
Some of them just
about
don't
it.
read the sign. They don't intend to do it. They just
Right.
wander in.
That's the other part is, a couple of folks been out there fishing, and it's a good fishing spot. I said, but we've got, the city provides a lot of other places for that, and, and they understand. Okay, individual memorials. Earlier, it was the specific explanation of what a cenotaph was not included, so that has been included apart because that's so prominent. The wording there is consistent with the manner in which the generations were honored is continued. So basically, the Vietnam folks have the granite without the bronze. Everybody else has the granite with the bronze plaques. Okay. And as far as the contents for the plaques, again, the wording is there consistent with what's actually being accomplished today.
And that is a change too. I guess we need
originally it specified it shall contain name, date, sort of birth, rank, branch of service, etc. And so with the way that it is done at this time, the change was made to allocate if space permitting.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I thought we went to the next one. Pardon me. That
Okay.
sounds good because what we're doing is trying to be consistent with
Right.
what's been there. I understand.
Okay. Okay. Cenotaph B2. Their cenotaphs will honor the men and women of Indian River County who died while defending their country. That is the substantive change to the regulation, and I put that in there because I'm consistent with what we discussed last month. And just reviewing again through the men and women that are on the island. If you look at every era from World War I through Korea, through World War II, and Vietnam, that's been the case.
When we last wrote the ordinance, and we did put in that they died in combat defending their country, I guess that was discussed at length around this table for many months as we worked on the original ordinance. You know what? This and other things bring to mind. Usually, if something like this is changed, we would have it all typed up, and then where the one was, and then where it's been rewritten. We can see what are the changes, and then also I think the Veterans Council and our veterans community probably should have some input on this too. I personally like the way it was, but this is your suggestion for a change, and it does include some of the ones that are already out there, but a lot of things were grandfathered in. Even our flagpole is dedicated to a marvelous person in our community that did so much, but it wouldn't be allowed today. So some things, just because it's out there, doesn't mean that everybody gets to dedicate a flagpole or that we get names all up and down that flagpole. So I think this needs to be discussed further, and I guess that's what this is your suggestion for some changes.
Correct.
But we all should have some input. And
no, without a doubt.
And I'd like to see it typed where we have what the current ordinance is and then what our change is, and then if there's none, we would only have to focus on those highlighted or
Okay.
whatever ones. But
Okay. All right. Okay. 3, no other individuals shall be allowed. Again, individual memorials shall be allowed. No change. And documentation will be approved by the City Council after recommendation. There's no change as well. Looking at monuments, this is just the collective monuments that are on the island, and no change to that. Number 2 there, only veterans organization designated sponsorship may be recognized as part of any monument. That was the discussion that we had for 2 months related to whether or not any individuals could be, and that was prohibited. And then the second sentence was you could address those and verbally or in writing later on. So to streamline the document, that's what was suggested. That is what is suggested there. Plans for construction of monuments be approved by City Council. Recommendations, no change, and all monuments consistent with the master plan. Okay, the master plan, as researched, is the architect's plan that was done by John Dean, and that's been included. The actual better clear document can be gotten from Rita. This one was pretty. It's not very legible, but it's there.
What was the date of that one?
There's no date.
John Dean did.
It's. We would like to have seen a date on that, John.
Early 90s, 91, 92, right around there.
Okay. Okay, and then all work shall be implemented by Public Works, no change. And then finally, the service memorials, that was addressed initially, but the service memorials are those that have been established on the perimeter and are there. And then the final sentence there, any changes would be consistent with the master plan, and that's what's being done at this time. And then the final point there was the master plan attached. Currently, it's entitled Proposed Memorial Island Veteran Plan Park, and that would be revised to state that it is the master plan to comply with the city code. Okay.
Did a lot of good work on that, didn't you?
All right, so
I'm just going to say that's a lot of work, but it's a lot of consolidation, and it follows. And I think that's the main thing we're trying to do, just make it follow. Get it all like a timeline.
Mm-hmm. You know, when we get to the, to actually approving this, and I guess I've put in some suggestions, and then you've clearly done the most work, but a few places in here it does say that it's, recommendation from Veterans Council type wording. So, and of course, we're just an advisory committee ourselves, aren't we? But I think that, we should probably, for me, it would read easier if we took the ordinance and found out where there's a change and we could see it, especially if we're going to take it to some that haven't been quite so involved in it. And I think here it does say in at least a couple of places that the Veterans Council's recommendation. So
sure.
Even if it's the executive board, but that might make it easier for them as well as me to, because if you don't have the ordinance, you're not sure what's being changed.
and I think that's something that could be accomplished. Okay. All right.
You did your homework, didn't you? So it's amazing how long it takes just to correct a couple of.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's understandable because of the nature of what we're doing. You want to take time to look at all the aspects to it and get input. I mean, that's what we're here for. Okay. Any other comments on that? All right. Okay. Mr. Dexter, please.
Good morning, Don Dexter with Public Works. And before we go on to 6B, if we could back up to 5B, Jimmy Doles, you will need to request from the City Council the authorization to expend the funds also.
Correct.
And I think those plaques run about $150, $200. So if you said not exceeding $300, just to make sure we have it covered, then
Okay.
That would be something that you would want
That
to
needs
vote
to be
on.
approved
Be
before.
approved by council before we
Okay.
Correct.
expend
Mr.
the
Chairman,
funds.
I move that we request the City Council to approve a request not to exceed $300 for correction of one of the cenotaphs.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you. Okay, the Pearl Harbor Monument, or actually that one is finished, so you all saw that out there, or hopefully you were able to get out for Memorial Day, and it really looks nice. We pulled the monument up so it's right at the end of the sidewalk that was there rather than having a gap, and we think that just gives it a cleaner look. One of the things that Mr. Young and I had talked about was doing a few plants around it, similar to what was done at the Korean War Veterans Marker. And that's certainly, I mean, there may be somebody who would want to donate some funds for that. It's not very expensive. You're talking about probably $50 or less. And I can talk to Nanette. I think she can squeeze that out of her budget too. But if you would like, we could put a few little plants on each side of the monument just to give it a little color and help soften the edges.
I think it's a good idea. Speaking of donations, the community that's watching, some people might not realize that they can make donations to the Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary Committee, and for good use, just like those things there. So,
yeah,
yeah, we can get a little plug in for that.
Sure, absolutely. And the Lest We Forget monument, it was approved. The expenditure of funds was approved by City Council yesterday. Since weren't not in a hurry right now, I've asked the vendor to send at least a photograph, if not a sample, of the proposed granite so we can take a look at it before actually ordering the unit. And I'm just waiting on us to get something with that. So our next hard deadline is Veterans Day, and I don't see why we wouldn't have it up by then easily, if not earlier this summer. But the manufacturing takes from 8 to 12 weeks to get it shaped once we get it ordered.
Okay.
Don, that was the request we made of the City Council for $3,600.
That's correct.
And that was approved?
That was approved yesterday, yes.
Okay.
And the other part to that is the Veterans Council will contribute $1,000 towards the deferment of the cost of the renovation.
Oh, great. Okay.
So we'll have $1,000.
That's wonderful.
So next month, I don't know when the City Council meeting is, but we'll have representation come and provide that.
That's wonderful.
So-
Okay.
Great.
So, okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, very good. The historical marker, if you go on the island, has been repaired, so it's 100%. So that's good. Okay. Under Chairman Matters, the highlights for May has been provided, and if we could take a minute and just read through those, I think that would be awesome. So, Barb?
Private First Class Clyde Williams, U.S. Army, serial number 44008357, was the son of Lizzie E. Bostick of Winter Beach. She was notified by Major General Edward F. Witzel, U.S. Army, that official verification was made that her son was killed while serving in Korea. Initially, Clyde was reported missing in action. He was among the 49 veterans of World War II in Korea that were honored in the dedication of Memorial Island in 1964. Born on January 1, 1928, he resided in Colquitt, Georgia, and later moved to Indian River County. Clyde enlisted in September 1949. PFC Williams was a radio operator assigned to the headquarters 1st Battalion, 19th Infantry Regiment, 24th Infantry Division. The regiment was part of an ill-fated task force, Smith. The task force was the immediate response to the North Korean invasion and sustained terrible losses. Clyde Williams is among those recognized on the Korean War Veterans Honor Roll. Also, he is listed in the United States Korean War Battle Deaths. His award include the Combat Infantry Badge and the Purple Heart. His cenotaph is located in column D, row 6, highlighted on May 5th.
George Frey.
Private First Class George E. Frey was killed in action at the age of 19 while fighting the enemy near Daehan, South Korea. He was assigned to the 34th Infantry Regiment. The regiment lost at least 530 men out of 1,539 present defending Daehan. The September 1st, 1950 Press Journal article reported that Private First Class Frey was listed as missing in action on July 17th. George was a light infantryman. Born in 1931, he was the son of Bob Frey and was well known among the young people of Vero Beach. He was among the first honored in the dedication of the Memorial Island in 1964. George is listed with the Korean War casualties from Indian River County. His cenotaph is located in column F, row 9. He was highlighted on May 12th.
It's my privilege to once again pay tribute to an old friend of mine. First Lieutenant Troy E. Moody, Jr. was a prior service soldier. Troy served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. Lieutenant Moody, U.S. Army serial number 02204023, was assigned to F Company, 2nd Battalion, 27th Infantry Division, 25th Regiment, 25th Infantry Division. He was killed while defending the Nakong River crossing at the Namji Bridge. This action was part of a battle of the Pusan Perimeter, the last bastion held by the South Korean Army and U.S. forces. On January 31st, 1951, he was posthumously awarded the Silver Star for gallantry in action. Troy was born February the 9th, 1925. He was a casualty at the age of 25. The actions of these men, end quote, snatched victory out of the jaws of defeat, end of quote, was Major General Floyd Parks as he described it. Troy was the son of Troy Moody and Margaret Louise Popple. He was the Vero Beach High School junior and senior class president. And he was selected the most popular in 1943. He married Emma C. Moody. They had a son born after Troy's death. Lieutenant Moody is honored with a park located in McCange Park named in his honor. He is buried in Crestlawn Cemetery, and his cenotaph may be found in column D, row 10. He was highlighted on May the 19th.
Private Luther Fenley, Jr., 2nd Infantry Division, killed in action March 30th, 1953. Private Luther Fenley, Jr., U.S. Army, was assigned to Charlie Company, 9th Infantry Regiment, Manchus, 2nd Infantry Division. He was killed while defending Hill 355, part of the Gibraltar vicinity of the Imjin River. Double Horseshoe. Luther entered the Army from Vero Beach. He was born in Cordell, Georgia on September 4th, 1928. He enlisted on August 20th, 1952. Declassified reports from his unit reflect a unit with high morale despite continual battle. In the month of March, there were 227 battle losses. Total losses amounted to 10% of the force of nearly 3,000 U.S. soldiers. The final armistice agreement would be signed 5 months later, 27 August 1953. That closed the war without a peace treaty along the 38th parallel and demilitarized zone known as the DMZ. Luther is listed among the fatal casualties of the Korean War for Indian River County, Florida. His awards include the Purple Heart. He is buried at Crestlawn Cemetery. His cenotaph is located column C, row 12. His brother George is a decorated Marine and Vietnam War veteran. He resides in Vero Beach.
The story of these veterans, I think, is the whole heart of Memorial Island, and it's a story that hopefully the veterans in the community can share the actual details, because if you look at the Battle of Gettysburg, which is I think of 150 years this summer, and you think of Pickett's charge, where the people lined up on one side of the valley and walked across the valley into the lines of the Union forces, you think, how in the world could they do that? But the men that died in Korea, or the men that died in World War II or Vietnam, were of the same character. If you read the account of the defense that Luther Fenley was a part of, in one night they had 1,000 artillery rounds fired. I mean, and unless you've felt the earthquake and you've been there, it's hard to imagine how you're going to stand the grounds against these odds. And on the radio, the lady that spoke before me talked about the corporation that owns Kentucky Fried Chicken has a huge presence in China. now with capitalism. And so the success of free enterprise, what our country is about, is alive and well in Korea because of young men, 19 years old, 20 years old, that went forward and said, I'll stand for what my country represents to me. It's something that hopefully over the coming years we'll never lose sight of because it's important. So, anything from the members, Barb?
I had mentioned earlier that a friend of mine that I was in Vietnam with, I haven't seen since 1975, and we were both actually left Vietnam in 1970, and I took him for a walk around Memorial Island, our Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary, and at a couple of spots, I was starting to walk, and I looked back, and he was kind of still standing there, sort of with that 1,000-yard stare as they talk about. And I said, "Come on, Dusty, what's up?" And he said, "I just can't believe how beautiful this is. What a wonderful place, and in a few different occasions." So. We know it, but it's really amazing to see somebody that sees it for the first time, that it really means something to them. And I was proud to show our city's island to my friend and veteran. Also, in the end of August, I'm going to the United States Marine Corps Heritage Museum, it's called, in Quantico, and we have there in the Marine Corps Museum has a similar pathway, this Walk of Honor. It's actually named after Chesty Puller, who was one of the most famous Marines. And we're dedicating a small monument similar to we have out there to the Marines and Corpsmen that were killed in the 1st Battalion, 1st Regiment. And we had 521 Marines and Corpsmen killed in Vietnam in my battalion. And so I hope to see things similar that we have here, and also I'll be proud to tell some of them about what we have when I'm there. So that's something coming up that'll be kind of important for us that were in that battalion.
Well, it was good to have the Iwo Jima veteran.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Cash Adams on the stage. So Cash,
guy, private that was actually on the battle there, probably looking up at Suribachi or whatever.
Right.
Then I guess another thing, I know we went over the ordinance, but is it our plan, or can Rita or someone, could we see it in the form that I was talking about, where we can see what was and what?
Well,
is?
I think that's where we're going. That's what we agreed upon. Mm-hmm. is have the
Cross reference.
Have the proposed change, and then the wording.
Some of it, in my simplistic view, helps me to understand. I know we've got some brilliant leaders here, and I want to say I've told that to you and to others, and I feel that way. But
and that's what everybody has. Otherwise, you're forced to go through the leaps and bounds.
And it gives us all the same path to kind of go down.
Right.
And I think just one other little thought on it, if I may, is to, where we should preserve and protect it for the future, but not necessarily change it just because there was a variance in the ordinance in the past. I think that those are grandfathered in, but not necessarily because there was something there that we should change it for the future for that. So anyway, I guess we'll go on with this until we're ready to make this recommendation.
I think that's
where we're headed.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Joel?
No, I don't have it.
Curtis?
Yeah, I do have one thing. It doesn't directly relate to the island, but it does relate to the Veterans Council. We are having a golf tournament on July 11th at Sandbridge Golf Course, and the cost of the golf tournament itself, which includes a lunch and awards following, is going to be $50 a person. The county kept it real cheap for us, and I didn't really want to. My main function for this is to get for the Veterans Outreach for the Desert Storm, OEF and OIF veterans that are coming back into the county, just to get them together. So I think it would be nice if the community went ahead and come out and golf with our veterans, say hi to them. And again, it's July 11th. It's going to be a shotgun start. Registration's at 7, and the shotgun start at 8 o'clock.
Are you going to advertise that in the paper so that
I am. We have some publications that are coming as we speak.
Talk to Lisa Reimer if you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you.
Ma'am?
There we go.
Anything?
All set.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you all for
next-
watching, and we will meet next month on the 1st of July. Thank you.